session. And just connecting with your body. How does your body feel? How does it feel after just a little shake? How does it feel just after a little movement? And we're going to begin this session with a drop-in. So just closing your eyes if you haven't closed them already. And just taking a moment to scan your body. Scanning your body. And just imagining roots traveling down from your sit bones into the core of the earth. Down, 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 down. Imagining yourself ground and anchor. Feeling supported. Just letting go. And sending anything that doesn't serve you right now down the roots towards the core of the earth to be transmuted. Anything that doesn't serve you in this present moment. Just imagining those roots traveling deeper and deeper into the ground beneath you, widening, really feeling yourself really supported in this moment. And as you sent whatever was ready to be released, whatever was ready to be transmuted, I invite you to now breathe in that fresh new energy. Breathing it in, up those roots, all the way up your spine, to the crown of your head. And as you're breathing in this fresh new energy, allowing it to bring healing and nourishing to any part, any cell in your body that needs it. As it's traveling up, moving that energy up through every cell. And landing in your heart center. And just taking a moment here to connect. To connect to your intention. What is your intention for this workshop? What drew you here? What inspired you to tune in live or catch the replay? What inspired you to make this time, to get curious? I'm just taking a moment to connect to that intention. And if you'd like to share it in the chat, I invite you to share it in the chat, putting it in the space. When you're ready, I'm going to invite you to blink your eyes open. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm really excited and grateful to have you all here through space and time, whether you're here live and I can see your beautiful face, or you're watching the replay and you're journeying with us in another realm right now. So I would love to hear for those who are here live, if you want to share in the chat your intention, what are you excited for? What are you wanting to get out of our time together? And as those are coming through, I'm going to share a little bit about me, because there's a few people that don't know me on here now, and there's a lot of people that I don't think have met me or know my work, that I've seen names coming through for the replay. So my name is Dasha, and so my journey into self-development and self-discovery started at a really young age. Well, some may think, some may not. But for me, definitely 16, and my environment was very different. Like, self-development wasn't like a thing. People looked down on self-development, self-improvement. They thought that it was just for people with issues, like big problems. And if you were doing anything like that, it meant like there was something wrong with you, which I fell into it because of my mum, and there was nothing wrong with me. And it totally transformed my view of the world and the way I lived my life from that age. It was the work that I did at 16 was very like kind of very kind of seminar-y, corporate, like how to do better at life and how to work harder and make more money and that kind of thing. And it was fascinating. It was really fascinating. I was always really fascinated with the human mind and what made us think the way we thought and do the things we did. Because the self-development work, it was very like normie, but also very spiritual in a sense. And it was like all these like really, I guess, quantum and philosophical concepts were dumbed down and spoon-fed, which was an interesting world to step into at such a young age. And then it inspired me to study psychology. So I have an undergrad in psych, social psych and neuropsych. And I'm just not like that kind of person. I'm not a linear person. Tertiary education doesn't really resonate, even though I did it. I pushed through. But it just didn't inspire me. I didn't see that that would be the way that I could help people and transform the world. So I worked for a marketing company. That was way more exciting because I really got to play with the way people thought and create and work with people. And on the side, I would just travel on and off as much as I could, every break I could during my degree. And after that, I was like, oh, I'm finished my degree. Now I can travel. So I became a yoga teacher. So I went to India, became a yoga teacher. By 25, I had visited 52 countries, and it was mind-blowing and amazing. And it was like full on, like I would stay there and really experience the culture. It wasn't like hopping every week. It was really beautiful, beautiful time. And it allowed me to really connect with people and learn more about people and learn. And it allowed me to see the world so differently through other people's eyes, and what you could do in the world, like the jobs you could have. They weren't the standard 9 to 5 that I've been conditioned into. Like working in my marketing job, I loved it, and I thought that was the future. That was where I was going to be, until I met all these incredible digital nomads. And I was like, wow, there's more. There is more to this world. And at one point I discovered that I was like, okay, my purpose is to empower women to have self-love and orgasmic sex. And I thought that I knew everything and I knew nothing. So my journey took me into Tantra and shamanism and sex, love, and relationship coaching. So I'm a certified sex, love, and relationship coach. And today we're talking about the erotic shadow. So it's a concept that came to me through studying and doing womb work and really connecting with that energetic portal, which all all um all of us have, no matter our gender, whether we're, no matter our body, whether we're female, male, we all have a womb. We all have that energetic creative center. And yay, I'm glad you love personal development. Me too. I'm freaking obsessed. I love learning. That's why I love what I do, because I get to learn more modalities and more things, and it really excites me. Yeah, so are you familiar, Slade, with the shadow? If so, what is your relationship to the shadow? Oh, the mic. Yeah, go on then. Let's make it interactive.
Yo, what's up? What's poppin'?
Yeah, just loving life.
Yeah, good. Great. Fantastic. I really relate. So what was the question? My shadow. Oh, shadow work.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the shadow?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very like elusive kind of conversation. And it's a cool conversation to have. I have had a few conversations about it, but always a student. Always a student.
All right, beautiful. Great.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say about the shadow, your understanding of the shadow?
So, it's suppressed and aspects of ourselves that we try to, avoid and not show other people, I guess, that we try and hide. And we act, most of the time, it's just like personal criticisms or inner critic judgments about completely, normal, healthy aspects of our being that get rejected by our constructs of reality, and it ends up being this complex because, you know, we can't escape these parts of us no matter how far we try and push them away in that shadowy corner. But we don't know how to face them because of, like you said, you were talking about earlier, our conditioning. I really resonate with a lot of your story as well. And yeah, cool.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, we're going to have a good time. So, thank you for your answer. I think that was a really beautiful definition of the shadow.
Cool. And that's what I mean. There's so many definitions, right? Of like something or like a shadow. I'd love to hear yours.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'll share it. I'm just going to mute you again just for the side nose, whatever it's called. Yeah, so the shadow. So how I like to think about the shadow is like anything I look at, because of the way I was taught to use my intuition and psychic abilities, is I always look for the obvious, right? So the shadow. It's in the shadow. Why is it called the shadow? Because it is a part of you that's kind of like the blind spot. It's like your big ego self kind of like has the light and it's like, look here. And it hides everything behind. So a good way to discover your shadow is just look at, what do you judge? What do you shame? What do you reject in others? And all those things are a part of you that's been fragmented and has been like, yeah, hidden away. And like you said, like, it's the more you suppress it, the bigger it gets, because everything that's in the shadow holds a lot of power. and we don't realize it. We think like, oh yay, we can just hide it and no one knows. But the fact is, it's running your subconscious. So you may not think that you're doing anything, but in reality, it's totally running your life. And why I ask about the shadow is because this workshop is all about the erotic shadow. And when I came up, like when I read about this, I was like, whoa, this is insane. But because in that moment, I was channeling a course and it was literally all about healing the erotic shadow. But I didn't realize the erotic shadow was a thing. I was just making this course that I was channeling and I was doing my own thing. And then I read about the erotic shadow. So I think I'll talk about the eros energy first, the sexual energy. And that is a big part of something that we reject as society, a big part of us that we don't fully allow ourselves to express and to feel. And our eros, the sexual energy, is actually our life force energy, right? So you can see in our society the disconnect, right? There is the shadow aspect, like everything is overly sexualized, and there's this porn and like junk food quickies and junk food sexual interactions, and it's like so hyper, like sex sells. It's like using sex, but the ultimate purity of sex and the ultimate power and the ultimate energy, the life force energy, is forgotten. So people don't actually allow all of the energy to flow through. They block it. They really block it around the sacral chakra and just down there. And then they project shit onto others. They judge people, they shame people. They're like, oh, that person's just asking for it. Oh, that person's so provocative. Oh, that person just wants attention from their actions to do with sexuality, right? But who said that? Like, what does provocative even mean? Like, who are they provoking? For someone to be provocative, they have to be provoking someone. And for you to be provoked, you're actually triggered. And if you're triggered, that is your shadow. So that is a part of you that you haven't fully integrated, that you judge and shame in them, right? And there's so many parts that we can depict in that. And that's just an example, just to kind of paint a picture to give you an idea. And with the energy of eros that we suppress, that in itself has its own shadow. And then there is the erotic shadow, which is all to do with your upbringing around your sexuality. It is your erotic shadow imprint that you get from a young age, right? So something happens and you make it mean something. And then because the life force energy is so potent, it's so magnetic, you then start to magnetize all this shit into your life. And it's interesting because the erotic shadow doesn't only like magnetize shit into your life around sexuality, it actually magnetizes shit into your life, just shit, just like things that don't feel good, it's like bad, like what examples can I give you? Like bad luck around money, around businesses, around starting projects. And it's because it's not letting you have the thing you want. That's the paradox. It's actually letting you have the thing you want, exactly the thing you want, because subconsciously you want to fail. You want to not have money. You want to have bad sex. You want to like sabotage your launch or your creation of this like incredible project or an art piece or whatever it is, right? It really, because the energy is not free, it's not able to like move through, so it magnetizes like destructive patterns as well, like excessive drinking or binge whatever, binge insert, binge whatever, binge smoking, binge drinking, binge sex, and harmful patterns, right? Because it is very correlated to your self-worth, right? So it's kind of like you so it's like there's your true essence, which is your life force energy and everything that you're meant to be doing on this planet, like your highest, greatest self, right? That's that. But then there's all these negative shit that's in the way that blocks you from being that. And then it magnetizes all the things to show you, like, stop you from your full self expression and to be like, see, right? You are a failure. I was right. I'm not going to pursue my dreams and purpose now because I was right. And you keep magnetizing all these things into your life to prove that you are right. So then you don't have to do the thing that you truly want to do because your heart is so set on it. But it's way more heartbreaking to go for the thing you actually love. It's so much easier to stay right and to repeat this imprint, this erotic shadow imprint that happened to you at a point in your life where you were shamed around sexuality or just your full self-expression. And unfortunately, it's really linked. Like there is so much childhood in that like first 7 years, and that's when you get the imprint of your life pretty much, and then you repeat the same pattern over and over and over and over and over again. And it's designed to like make it life easier for you, right? So you have so many ideas and so many thoughts coming into your mind. It's like instead of having to process thousands, you're like, okay, neural pathway, I've done this before, I'm just going to repeat this, easy, shortcut, 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 shortcut. So in those first 7 years that you are like a sponge and absorbing everything, you are curious and you want to experience pleasure because pleasure is fun and it's like feels good. But then suddenly the whole world around you is like telling you it's shameful and wrong and bad and secret. And then the way you experience self-pleasure in that moment is the imprint. So say you discovered like pornography, like, I don't know, back in the day, maybe I'm sure my demographic would have been like print stuff that they found from their parents, right? I don't think I have people young enough to actually be able to have watched porn. Unless it was one of those projector things. But yeah, so you discovered your parents' magazine or something like that, or you maybe discovered that humping your toy feels really good. But then you find out you get in trouble for it, right? So then you're like, naughty. So that's an imprint, bad, shouldn't do it. But there's such a strong desire that you want to do it. So then you decide, oh, okay, I'll just do it, but really quickly. And I'm always going to be on edge and I'm going to be like waiting for that door to open or that other shoe to drop. And it's like, and that is your imprint of pleasure, right? And that is just a tiny example. And then that snowballs into magnetizing like disturbing and destructive patterns in your life, which is like, what? But it makes sense, right? Because you in that moment suppress your true essence. You suppress your true ability to experience pleasure and desire and the life force energy, right? Because it got trapped here in your genitals, because that's what the world has taught you. Unless for some miracle you had some fucking energetic hippie superhuman parents, then wow, yeah, you're a superhuman. But most of us haven't, right? Like most of us didn't even get sexual education. Some of us had the things thrown at us. Some of us learned to put a condom on a banana. Some of us were like traumatized with like, and there was a new thing that I learned. I was like, what? Like in year 6, as part of sexual education, we had to watch a birth. And I didn't realize like the point of it was to like traumatize us into being like, I never want to do that. And that's sad. But imagine that, right? Imagine that. So let's look at the imprint of that. This is some deep shit. So a little girl watches the traumatizing birth, right? So then she lives her life. That imprint is there. That is going to be painful. It's going to be traumatic. And really in this world, and we are taught, and men, this is for you too. You know, you come out of a pussy. So this journey is for you too. So she is conditioned to think like, whoa, it's going to be traumatic. It's going to be bad, right? And in that moment there, where she actually, fast forward to her giving birth, right? If your mother has a traumatic birth, you as a child have a traumatic birth. And from that moment, like one of my shamanic mentors, she says that the way you are birthed is the way you live life. And the way you birth is the way you birth projects, right? And men can birth projects. We all have an energetic womb, right? So when we're being traumatized as young girls into being like, whoa, this is traumatic, this never leaves. And then we epigenetically imprint our children with that trauma. It's like, wow, right? It's like, wow. And then we carry trauma, right? So the interesting thing about this erotic shadow imprint is that epigenetically we carry the epigenetics of our ancestors. So our mother, our father, so the erotic imprint that they had, they like how we learn everything from observing. Everything is a learned behavior, right? Who we are born as a baby, we have epigenetics imprinted into us, and then we're like absorb everything, right? So you epigenetically receive their erotic imprint, and then you also learn from them when they're like hiding sex from you or shaming you about it or telling you whatever their thing is, right? Or they're empowering you, but you carry so much shame from everyone else that you're like, oh, mom, dad, like mom's dad's like, I don't want to fucking like hear this, you know? So it's really, really fascinating. And as homework, like what I would get you to do is to really reflect on your erotic imprint. Like, what were you taught? What did you learn? What did you epigenetically receive from your ancestors around sexuality? And what is like your life force? Where is that at? Because an example I use is like, if you hate your job and you look around everyone around you and they all hate their job and they're all like this, and they all have like 10 coffees before the start of the day, and then they have like 2 cocktails after each shift, you know, it's like there's no life force energy. You don't need 10 coffees if your life force energy is working. And the other thing in our society, like we don't circulate the energy. We just, rather than like using the energy to fuel our body, right? It's like we use it. We don't live with it, you know, we use it and abuse it. It's like, oh, I'm stressed, I'm going to have a quickie. oh, I'm gonna have a quickie, oh, I'm gonna have a quickie, rather than like ebbing and flowing with it. And there's also just so much shame. There's just so much shame in people's expression of their sexuality. It's not received, right? There's so much judgment. It's like if someone shares about it, even with like me personally, it's like so wild. Like I share about my courses and then I have people messaging me like, love your whack. Like we're really into like polyamory and ethic non-monogamy. Like, how are you going, sexy you? And I'm like, whoa, whoa, like why are you hitting on me just because I talk about sexuality? It's like, what is like the neural pathway in your brain to think like, oh, she talks about sex, she must love sex, so she must want to fuck me. Like what? And I use this, and you may be like, oh, whatever, you're so full of it. They were not thinking that. I'm like, okay, maybe not, right? But there are many times where I have seen with my real eyes and experience where it's like someone looks beautiful and attractive, and there's this like penetrative energy. And they're like, I'm not interested. And they just keep going and they just keep going. So it's like, and this is like, right, this is in the sexual realm, right, which is really interesting, the parallels of the erotic imprint, right? Because wherever you have this penetrative energy around sexuality, or avoidant energy, or like submissive energy, but not in this submissive way where you're like, yes, I get off on allowing, that you actually understand but the submissive where it's like trauma response, right? Because wherever you have those responses, you have the same thing in everyday life. It's not just around sexuality. And that is why it's like, holy fuck, your erotic blueprint impacts your whole life. And no one talks about it, right? There's so much shame and so much, everything's so hidden. And if you speak up about it, then there's more shame. There's slut shaming or misunderstanding, or there's all of that, right? Which is so sad. And also I find that people have a lot of shame sharing openly about their experiences because of self-judgment and of others and of people yucking people's yums. It's like shaming of the kink culture, of fetishes, like, and there's also a lot of mixed messages around like the way it's like people should know everything but then not ask anything. It's like they should know how to, like men should know how to give women an orgasm, but they shouldn't talk about it. It's like, oh, there's no education around that, right? And then a woman is expecting, and sorry, these are very heteronormative examples, but that's like what I'm very familiar with. But a woman is like judges a man for how good they perform, yet it's not actually socially acceptable for a woman to talk and share what they actually want. Or maybe it is socially acceptable, but there is so much shame. And a lot of the time people don't even know their bodies. And that's the issue. It's like they might want to communicate, but they have never been taught to communicate. And I've heard, and I'm going to give you lots of different like stereotypes and generalizations, and you can fit where you fit, and there's no judgment. But it's like, I just want to paint the world because it's a bit of a like paradox, right? It's like women want things, but then they don't ask for them, right? And it's like the man wants to give them things, but then the woman doesn't say what they really want. And then they ask for the thing that they don't actually want because they think that their partner, okay, let's take genders out. So they think that their partner wants something, but they want something else. But instead of saying what they want, they say the thing they think their partner wants. And then the partner does the thing that they don't actually want to do. They want to do the other thing, but they think this other partner wants the thing. So they do it and no one's happy. And then the erotic blueprint continues and just snowballs deeper, 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 and it's ingrained further and further and further. So why is this conversation important? Because unless we look at our erotic blueprint, it's the erotic shadow, because it stays in the shadow. And the thing about the shadows, they're in the shadow for a reason. Like, what you don't know, you don't know. And until you shine the light on the shadow, you probably can't see it. And a lot of the time, you can't shine your own light on your own shadow. Like, you need outside reflection, whether it's a course or a coach or a friend, because the shadow is a shadow for a reason. It's like, it doesn't want to be found. It's happy. It has all the power being in the shadow. Once you shine the light and you reclaim your power, you get the power and it doesn't hold anything over you, right? And I think the other reason why it's so important to have this conversation is the healing that's meant to happen around this subject and around this topic and around sexuality, because it is time. The time is now, for people to start connecting to their pleasure. And the more we listen to our body, right? So it's all connected. Like, your relationship to your sexuality mirrors your relationship to your body, because it's part of that expression. Because if you truly listen to your body, not just your mind, your experience of sexuality and pleasure would be really different, right? And because we are so disconnected from our bodies, you can see what the shit is happening in the world, right? So the more we become connected to our bodies, the more power we have, the more we are able to be more intuitive. And not just that, we're very intuitive beings. We're born intuitive, but the trust, we do not trust our intuition. How can you build trust with your intuition if you constantly reject it, if you constantly doubt it, if you constantly shame it? How can you listen to your body? Your body constantly is telling you things if you never listen to it. You're not going to trust your gut instinct. You're not going to trust your heart. You're not going to trust like your cock or your pussy or your genitals when they're telling you what they want, because you never listen. And when you never listen, parts of you go numb, in rebellion, in strike, or just cause. It's just like, oh, it's not in use. Or in pain, like trauma. Trauma is really stored in the body. And the thing about trauma, there's a lot of our negative beliefs, if you look at it, right? And it's so wild. Like, as I'm doing this masterclass and I have my notes, and I was like so exhausted today. Like, I've had the craziest bloody day doing my hair. It took 5 hours. Can you believe it? But I'm obsessed with it. So I was like, oh my God. And my friend from Austria is visiting. And I'm just like, oh my God, I just don't have time for this. But at the same time, I'm like, but I want to do this. So I was like, okay, I'm going to set the intention to have the most magical freaking masterclass with the most incredible humans and have the most amount of fun, right? And So I was writing notes and I'm channeling this, right? There's like bits I take, but then I get downloads and I'm like, oh my God, it's all connected. It's all connected. And like the erotic shadow just makes so much more sense to me as I'm explaining it to you, because now we're talking about trauma, which is a stress cycle in your body that did not get to complete, right? So it's a stress cycle in your body that did not get, it's stuck. It is stuck there. And the energy is stuck there. So when you allow your body to relive the trauma, or just and like embody it and like feel it, it doesn't even have to make sense. Like you just need to move the stress cycle through your body. Then you get to liberate that part, right? And it's just the erotic, it just makes so much sense. It's all connected. This disconnect from our body, the trauma that we like epigenetically, ancestrally, like that we experience now, that it's all stored. And because we don't have this connection to pleasure, to alchemize this stuff, to move it through our body, it just gets conditioned. And maybe you've discovered breathwork and you've moved through a lot of things in your body, which is amazing. But unfortunately, with breathwork, it's like great on the physical level, but not the conscious. Like if you still loop the patterns, you're going to repeat the patterns because that's your like neural pathways. Wow. What a any questions?
I think you're doing a great job. Thank you for that super insightful content. Really enjoy your perspectives and your reflection on that. So don't really questions, but at this time. But I think I really relate to what you said just then. A few things. One of them in particular was that, when breath work, how it only kind of affects you on the body level, and then with the erotic imprint, it's a lot to do with our our synapses and our neural pathways. So I also heard of there's a guy named Dr. David Schneider. Have you heard of this man?
No, tell me more.
He does NLP. Anyway, he says this. He spoke about oxytocin, and how we receive like high levels of oxytocin during orgasms and extreme pleasure, and that extended orgasms and high levels of oxytocin is one of the fastest ways to build new neural pathways. So like for healing and growth with intention, like what better way to really change your life than to do it in such a magnificent way.
Yeah. And that's what I'm all about. Alchemizing emotions through pleasure.
Yeah, I really love the way that you phrase that, because it's perfect. As long as it's done like in a harmonious way with the correct intention, like you're saying about cycling the energy and then gaining energy from it rather than just like dispelling energy through it.
Yeah. And the thing with oxytocin, right? You can receive that not just from orgasm and sex, right? Like skin to skin, like babies receive it, right? So it's like the way you relate to touch is the way your mother taught you, right? So everything is a learned behavior, which is like so mind-blowing. But you can reparent yourself in anything, right? And so
that sounds like a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, I'll try to stick. I try to like, I'm like, woo, and then like bring it back. Bring it back. Erotic shadow, erotic imprint shadow. Come back, keep coming back. But yeah, so it's like, you can oxytocin emotions, and that's why they use MDMA therapy, right? With especially people who suffer like intense PTSD. So they use MDMA, and MDMA releases oxytocin, right? But our body's so genius, we don't need that shit. We can cultivate it ourselves.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yum. That was such a juicy offering. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Is there anything else you wanted to share?
No, I just yeah, just really uh, resonate with what you're saying. The epigenetics and the erotic imprint and all of those things. It's beautiful constructs to build off, like real foundational, because like our sexual energy is like the building blocks of life. So if you're going to build life, what are the blocks that you're using?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Mm.
It's what creates life.
Mm.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. All right, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to keep going.
Hey.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about healing the erotic blueprint. So how do we heal it? And I think we had a really nice segue into it. And it is through really moving the trauma through your body, through pleasure. And trauma is a cycle, right? That's been stopped, a stress cycle. So it's an emotion, right? So here comes the emotions, right? What is the emotion? What do you want to do? What did in that moment did you want to do? Freeze, run, shout, yell. And I'm sure if you're watching this, you know society's relationship to emotions these days. It's a story for another day. But like, so everyone should be like, and if they're anything else, there's something wrong with them and they're a bad vibe and no one wants to hear about it and they should suppress everything, but then they can't even be too happy because that's hysteria and crazy, and they need to keep it on just normal. They just need to be normal and numb and just numb themselves with alcohol and sex, the shadow side of sex, and Netflix and other crap, right? So how do we heal the erotic shadow? Through pleasure, yeah, oxytocin, through feeling our emotions, through journaling, right? Journaling on like what the heck is my erotic shadow? And the thing is, what I said is like you can't find it yourself sometimes because it's in the shadow, right? Journaling is amazing because it connects to your subconscious, right? Like, of course, if you have a coach or someone who's like fully trained in it, yeah, they're gonna fucking know it, like, because they're trained in it, right? But you can figure it out by tapping into your subconscious, right? And even if you just uncover the tip of the iceberg, that's gonna give you a lot of things to look at, because you're gonna be like, okay, cool. So this is like my pattern. This is one of my patterns. I now have awareness. Awareness is the first step to transformation. So then you can bring awareness to it. So every time you bring awareness to it, you're shining the light. You're reclaiming the power, right? And yeah, the next step is to rewire those neural pathways, right? So now I'm going to talk a little bit about my genius of doing this and my way. So if you want to hear more, I'm going to share a little bit about a current course I'm running that is all about healing your erotic shadow and your erotic imprint. And it is the course that I was channeling when I discovered this thing, and it blew my freaking mind. And this course I channeled during COVID, first lockdown of COVID, and it totally transformed my life. I didn't even know I had anything to transform. Like, I thought I was fucking good. I was sweet. I was having really good sex and I was having really good life. And my Eros was activated. It was really like I was on fire. The thing I didn't know is that I had an erotic shadow imprint. So the energy was whoa, but it was still running the old neural pathways that were magnetizing like old neural pathway BS that didn't serve me. And I wasn't sure, I didn't even know. Like, you're so in it that you don't know till you're out of it. And you're like, whoa, holy shit, that is not the life that I wanted. How did I even put up with this? But the thing is, if your life standard is higher than average, you're on top of shit, and everyone thinks you're living your best life, because everyone is really not. So you don't even realize that there's more, and there's things that you're actually like secretly torturing yourself and doing mean things to yourself and replaying the trauma and being addicted to emotions like worry and trauma and heartache, and just this like up and down, up and down, up and down, right? Fill in the blanks with your narrative if you know it, and you might not. This might be like, wait, what? I might have something that's running my life that I don't like and I didn't even know about it. Yeah. And a lot of it is to do with the conditioning we have around our self, like full self-expression, the conditioning we have around sexuality, or like the heteronormative culture that we live in. That's my biggest, newest thing. Like, that really suppressed my expression of myself and just the way I see the world. And the more I look at it, I'm like, whoa, it's deep. And it's trauma that we carry. And if you believe in oneness, right, like you carry trauma, your personal trauma, but then you carry everyone's trauma because you are one. So the more the world is suppressed, the more pain you actually feel in your energetic body, especially if you're super activated. But the more work you do on your energetic body, the more healing and more transformation that you actually add into the world. And the more people do this work, it won't be like a dye in the ocean, like a drop. It'll be like freaking oil spill. The paradox of that. Anyway, so Unleashed is what my course is called, and it's a 30-day self and pleasure course. And it's all about moving the energy, moving past trauma through your body, bringing healing and unconditional love to every part of you, and really looking at your erotic imprint and how it's been impacting your body and your soul and your heart and your genitals, and really bringing that connection back to you. So connecting back to your body, like having a conversation with your body, with your pussy, with your cock, with your genitals, with your heart, and allowing yourself to step out of the mind and into the body, and really like moving that energy and allowing yourself to complete any stress cycles through pleasure, alchemizing your emotions through pleasure and ecstasy, right? And unfortunately, we hold a lot of trauma around sexuality, like a lot. You might not even know it until you start doing this. And it will really help you liberate yourself and heal yourself and heal your future children and your partner. Because when we trauma bond with our partner or partners, these cycles play out, right? So the more healing you get to do, firstly, the more in alignment partner you're going to attract. And the more of a support you'll be able to be to them. So yeah, it's a nourishing way to heal trauma and be in a community of the most amazing humans who are doing this work. And that's what it lights me up the most about the work I do, because it's like self-selects, it's like you have to be a certain kind of human to say yes to working with me. And then you're pretty awesome if you do. And then just think about all the other awesome humans that would say yes to healing trauma through pleasure. Yeah, it's a fucking good time. So yeah, if you want to know more, let me know. Otherwise, yeah, so the course has begun. It started yesterday, and we're doing the drop-in week. So that means we're allowing the energy to settle. Everyone's meeting and connecting and just really getting in touch with their intention for the 30 days, the week, and then there'll be the 30 days. And so, yeah, let me talk about the course a little bit. So 30 days. So every day there will be a task for you to complete. The first couple of days are longer because they set the scene, and then the videos are from a minute to 5 minutes. It is designed in a way for like super busy people and people that want to get, I can do this all the time, right? So you can do it every day. You can do a practice from 5 minutes to 30 or an hour, whatever you want to do. But if you don't have time to do a thing every day, you can compound it. So you can stack the different sessions and they're designed to build upon each other. So then say you miss the first three, you like do them on the fourth day together, and maybe you have a longer practice. So you can do it once a week or every 3 days, 4 days, every day. There will be integrations, and it's all in your own time. So you can access the content in your own time. You have the Facebook group with all the incredible, juicy, sexy people that you get to share your experience and your magic into. And there'll be live practices. We'll be doing live, like together rituals and sex magic and all the juiciness. And then there'll be live Q&A and coaching around things like that. So yeah, I think that's all I want to share. If that feels like something of interest to you, let me know. If you're catching this way later, just send me a message and I'll see what I can do. Yeah. Any questions for people live? Oh, you're interested. Yeah. All right. Well, all right. Send me a voice message. Send me a voice message. Send me a We're on Facebook. We're friends on Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Voice
Send me a
messages.
message, and we can continue this conversation in
Yeah,
there.
100%.
Any questions on anything before we go?
Um, Nothing in particular. I think yeah, I look forward to hearing a bit more about, the practices on your 30-day program. And yeah, I look forward to chatting a bit more about that. Sounds interesting. Sounds very interesting. Yeah. Just thank you. Gratitude. Yeah.
I'd love for you to share your biggest takeaway.
My biggest takeaway will is it is about the how interconnected the trigger points are, and that our sexuality and our erotic shadow is like a fundamental cause of those triggers. How you could go through so many modalities of healing and personal inquiry, on all of these layers on top, like you said, until you get to the root cause. Pardon the pun. Of the erotic imprint, which has so much control over our body. And yeah, there's so much I'd love to chat with you about in regards to like the philosophy that you speak about as well. Yeah, for the epigenetics and these and the implications in social conditioning is huge. Like, yeah, I've been a massive advocate for bringing awareness around social conditioning for a long time now as well. So that's really cool. Mm. And yes, it's a great modality and a great way to help people transmute their energy through pleasure.
Yeah.
And yeah, I look forward to practicing a bit more. Yeah.
Converted. Woohoo! Awesome. Thank you, Slade. So I'm gonna mute you, and I'm just gonna do my final closing spiel for you, beautiful human, and all the people watching the replay, which has been really fun. So yeah, it's like the thing about the world, you know, it's so funny. There's so many modalities, yet this thing no one talks about. And the thing about shadow, and I'm a Virgo double Scorpio, I'm obsessed with taboo and shadow and all the things. Like my journey started with menstrual cycle and blood and all like the empowerment around that. And now we're here. And the thing is, like, the thing that holds the most shame, that is in the biggest shadow of our society, has the most power, right? So this thing that's been hidden for so long and is finally kind of like, whoa, there's this awakening around sexuality that is happening. It's really cool because it's like, it's hidden. Everything is always hidden in plain sight. It's very fascinating. And the other thing that I wanted to share with everyone who may be interested in Unleashed is it's for anyone, right? If you're like, oh, I am just so not into, I don't self-pleasure. I don't even like sex that much. Like I just do it for my partner. Or like like, my God, my phone is ringing right now. It's really distracting. Yeah, I'm not into self-pleasure. I'm doing this for my partner. I'm just not a sexual person. I'm just not a sexy person. I'm not like, I don't like pleasure. It's for you. It's a gentle journey into this world. It's like, and if you're like super crazy, super sexual, super orgasmic, it's also for you, because I did this journey super orgasmic, but I didn't realize there was so many layers to how I wasn't, right? And there are many people in the course that are not, it's their first time, you know, and it's like something drew them and they were scared and there was a lot of resistance, but they trusted themselves and they decided that they wanted to trust their body finally. And even if like the only thing you get out of this course, you don't get any orgasms, you just learn to talk to your body and listen to your body and trust your body and follow your intuition. I think that's pretty life-changing. And if you get some pleasure and orgasm sprinkled on top, then yay. Anyways, thank you all for your generous time. Thank you for making the time to be here live. Thank you so much for making the time to watch the replay, because who the hell makes time for that? I know you special people do. I know who you are. So thank you. I really appreciate it. And I would love to hear what was your biggest takeaway? Send me an email. I would love to hear from you. If you want to know more about Unleashed, it's not too late. We have so much time. I've created this time just for people because I know it's a bit confronting and sometimes people wait till the last minute, which they did, but I'm giving more time for more people to wait for the last minute. And even if you join like a few days into the challenge, it's okay. You're going to have time. You're going to have the best time. The people are insane. Like everyone's already sharing in the group. And I just like plug in and it's just electrifying. So if you just want to be around a beautiful community, it's worth it. So thank you all again. So much love and see you on the interwebs. And if you want to connect on Instagram, follow me there. Bye.